Hello, everybody. It's Trish Carr, and I'm here with another episode of Be Real, Get Real, where we actually get to know the people behind the business. You know, they say that people do business, but we don't. We do business with people. So there's such an important part of business is that know, like, and trust factor. Who am I doing business with? Who is this person? What's behind them? Who are they internally, other than their business? And we all have a story that we come from. And the more we share who we are, the more people connect to us and the more people want to do business with us. So it's my pleasure to be here today with Women's Prosperity Network's Be Real, Get Real podcast. And go ahead and get a cup of coffee or get a glass of water or anything else you want to put in your cup and sit down and enjoy this for the next 15 minutes. And let me share with you the incredible woman that we're going to be meeting here today. Sonia Bailey is a life recovery coach who helps people get free of unhealthy attachments to behaviors or things so they can live their goals and their dreams. You know how we all have those things in our past, you know, the stuff we carry around in that baggage. And there's things that happen right now, today, that create decisions that create who we are as people. So Sonia works with people as a life recovery coach so that they can live their best life. She is also a skilled administrative manager and a quality assurance enthusiast. I don't know if I know anybody who's enthusiastic about quality assurance, so we'll have to hear about that. But she applies her recovery principles to her work with micro business executives in communities of color. She's the founder and executive director of Fire Forged Recovery, where this is the secondary thing she does, where she's working to help people find freedom from the effects of structural and other kinds of racism by using the healing power of the community's lived experience. And we're going to get into that in more detail today. She's also the author of Healing Ourselves, the African American Woman's Guide to Richer Living. We all want richer living, don't we? And her new book coming out in October this year, The Path to Recovery. So it is a pleasure, Sonia, to have you here with me today. Hi.
Hi, Trish. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, thank you. And thank you so much for everything that you do. You know,
Same to you.
well, thank you, but you run a business and you work out in the community to really forge
Yeah.
and make a difference, particularly for Black women and
hmm
men. And
Right.
you work with executives. I know that on your website, the Grassroots Executive, that you provide an affordable business architecture for
hmm
entrepreneurs who are on a shoestring budget. So
Right.
thank you for doing that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I've learned a lot from WPN over time. That's really
Well,
helped me to develop and be able
I
to do
l-
it.
I love to hear that. And for any of you who want to know more about what Sonia does in business, you can go to grassrootsexecutive.com. But let's go ahead and delve into Sonia's background. And you'll be, those of you who are with us, I know you're going to love this conversation because Sonia was saying that she really wanted to talk about finding her north. And I was like, all right, that sounds cool. So tell me, what do you mean by finding your north?
Well, I think finding my north for me means all of the time that I've gone through life, especially early on, trying to find what did I want to do. And I have a mother who I love dearly, who's a migrant. She and the rest of my family migrated from Jamaica. So my mother, I think, had to, in her generation, there were a lot of limitations on what women could do, what women's roles were, and so forth. And I always felt like I want to do this or I want to do that. And I got feedback sometimes, just not from only my mother, just from people about kind of what girls' roles were mostly to they were more expected to have families, kind of settle down into that life. And at some point, I started off wanting to be an attorney, which everyone thought was weird. And then I wanted to be a lawyer. I mean, a writer, and everybody thought that was even weirder. So I went through many years of struggling with myself just to accept that I wanted to do these things, and I didn't necessarily want to settle down into a traditional life. Even though I ended up having 3 children, I have 3 children who are adults, twins, and then a younger person who's just by himself. So I ended
A
up doing
younger,
that.
how young is your youngest?
Oh, 30,
Oh, he's
30,
in
30
his
something.
30s.
Yeah.
And you
Maybe,
had
maybe 31.
twins?
I have
How
twins.
did you
Yeah.
manage twins? Oh my gosh, that's a story in and of itself,
That's a
isn't it?
story. Yeah. That's a
Oh
story.
my
Yeah.
gosh. How
I'm
old were
just,
you when you had the twins?
I was very young. I was like 21 or something like that.
So
So
the first time you have a kid, you have two
I
of
have
them at one
twins. Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Holy
So
cow.
that's what I mean about finding my north. So there I am. I'm married. I have these twins. I'm trying to live this life, but I still want to, I still have the desire to do these other things, to write. And I always had an interest in, um, my parents grew up or were adults in the era of the Panthers, and we were from New York. I was born in New
The
York, so
Black Panthers, right?
yeah,
We're talking about
yeah, not the other Panthers, even
not
though
the
I like them
Panthers
as
in the
well,
zoo. Yeah, me too.
or the hockey Panthers, not them either,
Oh,
but even
those the Florida, yes,
yeah.
Florida Panthers.
Um, but so there was a lot of pride and so forth. So I always took an interest kind of in business, and I wondered about the disparities. I didn't understand them very well that I saw in Black businesses that were trying to develop or survive, and the quality that I saw that I thought could improve. Like, how come these businesses don't look like other ones? And I think that those were my earliest attractions to trying to figure that out. And later on, I came to understand the issues of access and resources and stuff like that that people have that prevent them from engaging with quality assurance. So I think that
Yeah.
was my earliest interest in it. So anyway,
Where'd you grow up, Sonia?
I grew up in New York, St. Croix, and Florida.
Oh, all
So
of those. So you
yeah.
went, your mom, your parents, both your
Hmm.
parents came from Jamaica together,
My
or
mom came
just your
from
mom?
Jamaica. Yeah, my mom and
So,
her side of the family. So
and they came, and you went to she went to New York after that.
yeah, she met my father, but then they divorced, and I had a stepdad. So I was raised by my mom and stepdad, and he was much older. So he retired from New York Transit, and then we went to live in St. Croix, where we used to go on vacation every year for
Nice,
many years. So that was just another formative experience in that I was immersed in a culture that was predominantly people that look like me in government and
right?
everywhere else. And I got
Mm-hmm.
a stronger sense of, empowerment or whatever. So then coming back to live in the mainland U.S., because St. Croix is a territory of the U.S.,
Right.
it was different. People didn't have that same kind of confidence in just being immersed in a larger group of people that didn't look like me. So
Well, and you also came back to Florida, right?
then there was Florida. Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's a big difference. So I grew up in Brooklyn.
Oh, Brooklyn,
And
yes,
yes, grew
yeah,
up in
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn,
Woohoo!
which is very popular now.
Yeah,
Brooklyn is like the place to live.
right.
When I lived there, I was like, "Oh, you from Brooklyn?"
Yeah,
Right?
that's right.
Um, yeah,
Yeah,
but I grew up in New York, and then I too moved to Florida, and there was a real cultural difference. I
yeah,
mean, even for me as a white woman, there was a
right.
big cultural difference. So I can imagine New York, okay, right? St.
Hmm.
Croix, all people of color with you. And then
Yeah,
you come back to Florida and it's a lot of white people from
right.
Michigan and Ohio and
Yeah, people
yeah,
saying
whole
don't go to Davie. They were like, "Don't go to Davie. You'll
oh,
get lynched over there."
that's where I live. I
Well,
live in Davie.
it's different now. It's different in Davie now.
Yeah, but there's
But
still horses and there's still people with their pickup trucks and big
yeah,
old American flags
right.
hanging and all those
Or
other
or
flags.
Confederate flags,
That's what I
right?
was
Yeah.
gonna say, all those other
Yeah.
flags.
Right.
So yeah, no, I can only imagine what that
Yeah.
was like for you. How old were you when you got to Florida?
I was in my teens. I was close to and finishing high school, maybe 16 or 17.
Yeah,
So
so
yeah.
big culture shock, man. Bad
Yeah.
enough you had to change in the middle of high school to a whole
That's
new
right.
culture.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh my
So I
God. So
ran away. I ran away to college, and then after college I ran away to California. So, and that's what I mean about finding my north. That was a lot of that process, trying to sort out all of the data that I was taking in from these various
yeah,
places,
yeah.
and hone out a personality or a life that worked for me, and not taking in what anybody else's idea of who I needed to be or who I was supposed to be, just based on my family or my skin or my anything else. So that took a while.
Well,
But
and
so
with all that travel, you got a lot of experiences under your belt.
yes, a lot of
And
experiences.
it's interesting. You said that you wanted to be a lawyer,
Yeah,
and people kind of laughed at you. What? Who do you
right.
think? Who do you
Yeah,
think you are? That's what I love. That is. Who do you think you are? I'm
right.
freaking Trish Carr. That's who I am. That's where I
Yeah,
go. So,
yeah.
and then you talked about being a writer, and you were saying to me that Black girls don't write.
Yeah, well, this is what I remember when I was married. It was my mother-in-law's family. When I say, I write, and they'd be like, "We don't do that. When are you going to make dinner? Who's making dinner today?" Kind of. So I had to really struggle through that and find other people that could see that, as a possibility that I could write. And then I went through the same thing again in terms of coaching. When coaching was new, before it became what it is today, when
Hmm.
Thomas Leonard was alive and founded coaching, and I got to experience some of that group and the coaching that came along with that, and figuring out that I could do it, and that I wanted to do it and make it available to other people like me who ordinarily would have had exposure to it. So all of these, formative experiences over time, I feel like brought me to who I am today. And then I worked in recovery for a long time. So I had a lot of addiction in my own family, starting with my father who passed away of alcoholism, my biological father. And I had it in my marriage, and I have it just all over my family. And so I went to work in that industry for a long time, and um, found that there's so many similarities. And then from working in addiction, realizing that recovery is a pervasive concept, that there are a lot of things that people, it doesn't just apply to addiction, that people who have a fractured sense of self or a suppressed sense of self all need to have recovery. Trish, are you there?
I am. I
Okay, I can
am.
see you.
I
I
am. I
couldn't see you
am.
for
I
a sec.
am.
Okay.
I was
So,
letting people listen to you and get my
okay.
face off the
Thank you. Thank
screen.
you. Okay. But yeah, I realize that it's a pervasive concept, and that people need to have recovery. People need to deserve to have the space to find themselves too, and to be encouraged to be who they really are, and to live those dreams that they have inside of them. And it comes a lot with the women that I work with, that they have been nurturing a dream for a long time, and they aren't encouraged in their communities either, or by their loved ones or by their families, to pursue these dreams. They're told to be more practical, and stay at work if they're working, or stay in the family, and not try to pursue these kind of ideas. So they often, we work together, and they find their confidence, and they find a space to express their ideas and their dreams. And then we work together to actualize those, like to put a plan together that helps them bring it to life and breathe life into it, and walk past all of their fears. And I'm a staunch, not advocate, but I am. I'm really an advocate, and I really believe in the people that I work with. And so I'm not only a big cheerleader, we work on practical concerns too, and people changing personal habits that get in the way of them fulfilling these dreams. Because that, a lot of it, I'm sure, is, Trish, a lot of this, having your own business or pursuing your own dreams, has to do with personal discipline, and having some personal habits that sustain you through really dry and dark days when nobody believes in you, and you have to believe in yourself. So that's a lot of what I end up working with the entrepreneurs on, is the developing their executive persona, is what I call it, coming to believe in themselves and see themselves as the master of their dream, and that it is possible, and that they can do it. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm with you. We're both on the same page with that, because I do remember so I had a corporate job, and I worked till I was 38 in that corporate job. Believe it or not, I had 16 years in that corporation when I was 38.
Wow.
I know, right? So I ended up getting money and all that good stuff, pension and
Yeah.
all that, but it wasn't what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And when I left, everybody said to me, "Are you crazy? Why would you throw away a good job that you could retire from when you're 50 or whatever?" And I'm like, "It's not what I want to do." Well, what makes you think, that's what people would say, what makes you think you
Yeah.
can, so I absolutely resonate with everything you're saying. And I think everybody who's with us and watching can relate to being told, "You're crazy. You want to
Yeah.
do something? Nobody does that. Go
Nobody
get
does
a
that.
job," right?
Get
Go
a
get a
job.
job. Right. So
Yeah.
you and I are on the same page in terms of you've got to be surrounded by and connected to people who believe in you more than you believe in yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
That's
and
right.
that's Women's Prosperity Network. That's why we do what we do, and that's why you do what you do, is because
Hmm.
you want it to be something
Right.
that other people said, "Oh, you can't do that."
Right.
So
And
kudos to you, woman, that you're making that difference for people.
yeah, thank you. Yeah. I remember somebody
Really.
said it to me a long time ago. People are often happy to tell you what you can't do or what you can't have. They'll tell you in
I
a
know.
heartbeat.
I know. "Oh,
So,
you're happy? You have a little balloon? Let me burst that
right.
balloon."
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's crazy. And
Yeah.
so I do you work mostly with women, Sonia?
Mostly with women, but I have men clients as well. So, and I really, I think it could be that men don't have Women's Prosperity Network or kind of
Right.
a thing like that. So I really feel for them that they really struggle even more with they have more pressures on them to be providers and protectors. So if they have
Mhm.
families, it becomes very difficult for them to pursue a dream that where they can't see the profit yet, or where they have to work
Mhm.
their way up to profit. So I think that they have the special needs even that are different than women, and they don't have as much permission to talk about feelings or to explore
Right.
feelings. Yeah.
Yeah, I often have, so we always invite men to our workshops and to our networkings. We keep our masterminds and our other programs to women only, but those men who do come, they go, "We want a men's prosperity network."
Yeah, I can
I'm
see
like,
why.
"Good, you go ahead and create it. I'll help you, but I'm not going to. I don't have the goods to be the men's prosperity network."
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's really, I mean, I'm so glad that you found your space. And then the other thing that you do with Fire Forged Recovery,
Hmm.
that was born out of wanting to support people who wanted to get into businesses. Tell us a little bit about Fire Forged
Yeah,
Recovery.
well, that came from working on the recovery side. The event when I first, I figured I had the most experience working with recovery. I had years of it, and I had years of running programs. So I was, and this is where the quality assurance part came in. So, but I felt really fragmented as a person. Like because they're pretty far apart in some ways. Those interests, and I kind of. The recovery system didn't have a lot of success in many ways. There are some things that are good about it, but there were many things that didn't work. So I wanted to develop a new model that worked better for people. But I also, over time, I've drifted trying to bring the parts of myself together. And this is how I came to whole person recovery instead of specifically around addiction issues or other habits that are unhealthy, is to whole person recovery. And that included, now I'm at, whole community recovery, and that includes economic recovery and as well as personal recovery. And so that's kind of how Grassroots Executive got born, was out of working with Fire Forged recovery around recovery issues. So if that makes sense, if you can follow that leap. For
Yeah,
me,
I
it's a,
think they work together hand in
yeah,
hand.
right.
Yeah, it makes
So,
perfect sense. And then
yeah,
I know that you have put together a really amazing event that's coming up this August in South Florida. Can you
right.
tell us a little bit about the
Yeah.
Requiem?
That's the Requiem for Slavery. And once again, with the theme being recovery, and it's community recovery. And it's for all of us, with a focus on African Americans recovering from the effects of intergenerational trauma from chattel slavery. So even though you get eye rolling and people think it's over, slavery's been over, but all you have to do is turn on the news or read a newspaper, and you see that every day people are still impacted by the effects of skin color bias. So I'm hoping that the Requiem for Slavery on August 20th at 10 a.m. Von D. Mizell and Yola Johnson State Park in Dania Beach is basically all of us getting up and turning our back on the bias that comes from chattel slavery, just collectively, like, listen, we're actually done with that whole thing. And I know I'm not unrealistically thinking that that's the end of it, and therefore on August 21st no one will have bias. But I am asking for a shift in the way we all interact with bias. It's just a like formal saying no and putting these effects to death, like symbolically, you know, having a cremation or a funeral for the end of that era, and for us to walk forward, identifying ourselves in a new way, not as these people who are oppressed by this issue. And I know that that is an ongoing work. And it's a part of the cultural wellness movement. So a movement away from just hearing more, another killing, another this, another that on the TV, taking that in and being re-traumatized and reacting on it. That we're collectively saying no to all of it, and we're done with it, and we're now identifying ourselves in a new way and not tolerating any of that.
Yeah, I
So,
love what you're up to with the Requiem for Slavery, because there's a real value to ritual. And
mhm.
that would be, we go to funerals when people die, right?
That's
That's the
right.
ritual. When you get married, people come together to celebrate you. When you go and you take on your religion, there's some kind of ritual. This kind
That's
of
right.
ritual is we're putting this issue behind us. We're having a funeral, if you
That's
will,
right.
and
That's
we're
right.
moving forward. So if you go to theculturehasthecure.com, you can find out about the Requiem. And if you are in the South Florida area, I invite you to come.
Please come.
This
Yes.
is for all
It's
people:
for all
white
people.
people, black people,
That's
yellow
right.
people, green people, blue people, fat people, skinny people, all peoples.
That's right. Everybody who wants to say no to bias, that we're really done, and then put a period at the end of that sentence.
That's it.
So, yeah.
Definitely. Well, I'm so excited for everything you're up to. Sonia, you found your true north, baby.
Yep. I do believe I have found it. I
And you're
finally
living
felt
it.
like everything works together. So,
Yes, absolutely. Well, it was a pleasure having this conversation. I hope all of you enjoyed it as much as I did. And we will be back next week with another episode of the Be Real, Get Real podcast. And before we go, Sonia, is there anything else you want to share that we didn't delve into? Anything else you want to leave our listeners with? I know I put you on the
um,
spot with that.
the culture has the cure. We really do. For everything that ails us, we're the cure. So all of us have a piece of it. So, and
Yes,
I hope everyone
beautiful.
shares it. So,
Wonderful. Thank you all for being with us. Thank you for sharing. You see that little button down there that says share? Go ahead and click on that button. And while you're there, give me a comment. Let us know what you think of this conversation. I'd love to hear from you as well. Sonia Bailey, Grassroots Executive, have a fantastic day and a fantastic weekend. And to all of you watching, hope you too enjoy your day and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Thank you again, Sonia.
all right. Thank you, Trish.